All right, welcome back. Though the left loves to paint President Trump as an evil aristocrat, someone who's out of touch with the average American, yet his approval ratings would say otherwise in recent polls. President Trump is taking aim at Main Street, not Wall Street, with his big, beautiful bill aiming to save you taxpayers money. Tax cuts, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and yet the Democrats all voted against all of that. Still, his big, beautiful bill is headed to the Senate for approval. Let's talk about that. I'm joined now by former Speaker of the House, Oklahoma House of Representatives, T.W. Shannon. We've also got Republican strategist and fellow with the Independent Women's Forum, Nicole Kiprilov, and also pop culture commentator, Adrienne Gray. Great to have everybody here. T.W., I want to start with you. What's your takeaway from this big, beautiful bill? There was a lot of controversy about whether or not they were going to get this thing done in the House. Now it's going to the Senate. Do you think there's going to be some maybe Republican grandstanders that are going to try to hold this up?
Well, I would say the first lesson is never underestimate a Speaker of the House. That's the first lesson for everybody here. But the second is, listen, don't underestimate Donald Trump. Once again, he has delivered not just for his party, but he delivered for the American people. As you mentioned, this is the largest tax cut in American history. The Democrats stood against it. This is an unprecedented removal of tax on tips, tax on overtime. As you mentioned in your opening, the Democrats were totally against it. And so, yeah, you're going to see some finagling for sure from the Senate. Senators always want to have their input, add some color, take some things away from the bill. But ultimately, you're going to see this bill get passed because it's what the American people want. It's what they voted for. And again, this is a president who's delivering on exactly what he said he was going to do when he got elected.
Absolutely. House Speaker Johnson, he thinks this is going to get through. We've also got Senator Ron Johnson. He is also behind this as well. He's doing the media circuit here this morning. This is what he had to say about this bill and what's next. Watch.
This is our moment. We've witnessed an unprecedented level of increased spending, 58% since 2019, other than World War II. This is our only chance to reset that to a reasonable pre-pandemic level of spending.
So, Adrienne, do you think that that is the case? I mean, we talk about spending. Obviously, we want to get that debt down. That's the biggest thing. But the Republicans have framed this in a way where they're trying to reset what's happened and try to bring down this. And this bill is going to be one step towards that. What's your takeaway?
Absolutely. Again, this is delivering what the Americans wanted. I know there's a little bit of criticism from some of the GOP, but I would say at the end of the day, Speaker Johnson said it best. He says, we put this together. We would like to keep the equilibrium at balance here. And so though there may be changes, he really suggests that everybody pushes this forward into July where they are going to present it to President Trump.
One of the things, too, that's always been brought up, Nicole, is Medicaid. Democrats have said, oh, they're going to cut Medicaid altogether. We're really not. The Republicans are looking at trying to get rid of some of the people off of Medicaid that probably shouldn't have it.
It's called waste, fraud, and abuse.
Waste, fraud, and abuse. House Speaker Mike Johnson talked about that this morning. Watch.
We are not cutting Medicaid in this package. There's a lot of misinformation out there about this, Jake. The numbers of Americans who are affected are those that are entwined in our work to eliminate fraud, waste, and abuse.
So, Nicole, I mean, is this the Democrats' strategy, is to continually push this lie that Medicaid, they're going to get rid of it altogether?
It is. It's the mainstream media strategy of fear-mongering and the Democrats. The reality is the facts are that 1.5 million illegal aliens are getting kicked off of Medicaid because that's an abuse of taxpayer dollars. And Medicaid will no longer be funding hormone therapy and transgender surgeries for people who need gender-affirming care. That's another great example of waste, fraud, and abuse of American taxpayer dollars. Now, I know there were some negotiations because the original version of the bill banned minors from being funded by Medicaid, minors who identify as transgender. But this bill that was just passed in the House was so much better than that because there is no age restriction to not getting hormone and surgery covered by Medicaid, which is a major win for hardworking American taxpayer dollars. We don't want to see this abuse continue to be propagated on hardworking American taxpayer dollars.
And I get it. Democrats are going to have to vote with their party, but some of them could say, hey, you know, there's some wins here from the Republicans. If they wanted to unite the country, maybe that's an opportunity where they could say, hey, the Republicans are doing some good work here.
Can you imagine being a part of a party, being a Democrat now, where a president presents everything you've been talking about for the last 25 years for working people, and you vote against it because of the personality of who's in the office of the White House? I think it's despicable, and I think the Democrats are going to continue to pay a price at the ballot box in 2026 because they just can't get out of their own way because of their partisan lens.
Yeah, and you know what? Trump, he's always taken flack from the left-wing media, from the Democrats. Doesn't matter. He seems to be always their target. But our own Rob Schmidt, he was introduced to a New Yorker named Debbie, who shared this very personal and heartwarming story about the man who was our commander-in-chief. Watch this.
Yesterday, we were out asking New Yorkers about the Tish James probe, doing a little interview right there by Grand Central in Manhattan, and we met a woman named Debbie, who's been living in New York for 50 years. And this woman blasted Tish James, said she loves Trump, says Trump saved her life one night in New York long before he was president, back in the Apprentice days, told us quite a story. Take a listen.
Trump saved my life, literally. My dad and my mom passed at the same time. I was in a bad place. I was going towards the Brooklyn Bridge. Don't ask me why, but I was. Donald Trump was standing on 97th Street in Broadway. He was at a friend's birthday party. And when he saw me coming past, I was hysterical in tears. And he gently grabbed my arm. He was like, whoa, wait a minute, are you okay? And he said, well, I don't know what you're gonna do right now, but whatever it is, forget about it. Take it out of your head. Your mom and dad wouldn't want that. And he talked to me till I forgot all about what I was gonna do. So he said, let me pray for you. So when I went to get my keys out of my pocket, and I opened my hand, he had placed a folded up, real small, folded up $100 bill in my hand. Wow. I framed it, literally, and this is a true story. He saved my life. Yeah, he did. So anybody that has anything bad to say about Trump, did it, because he's a good man.
Wow, powerful words there. And, you know, you hear these stories time and time again about President Trump, and despite what the left-wing media frames him as. Adrienne, I know you spent a lot of time in D.C. You've met him a few times.
Yes.
Is there a story that you have to share?
Yeah, I'm around him frequently, and what I will say is he treats everyone with so much respect. He's the busiest man in the world, but he will stop on the golf course, he'll stop at his club, and talk to you for 10 minutes, whether it's about the club, whether it's about your day. He shows interest. So I've seen him win over so many people in person with my own eyes. It's what he does best.
One of the things, too, Greg Kelly's been talking about here on Newsmax is General Milley had that story that Trump was upset about one of the wounded veterans that was spoke or sang in front of President Trump in his first term. And he's debunked that, Greg Kelly. He said that because General Milley said that, oh, he didn't want him there because, but that wasn't true. And in fact, when you play the video out longer, he actually goes up and embraces him, hugs his wife, hugs his family. They don't really like to humanize President Trump very often on the left, do they?
No, again, all of this misinformation about who he is as a person. It reminds me actually of the 13 service members, the families of the 13 service members who tragically lost their lives in Biden's disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan. President Trump was the only person who reached out to these families. He went to all of the memorials. He was supporting the families when it really should have been Biden and Kamala Harris who never reached out to them. But the mainstream media will never cover that. And I think, look, John, the biggest indication of how incredible of a person President Trump is look at how much he sacrificed to do this. Look at what he put his entire family through. His young son, Barron Trump, is going to need security, heightened security for the rest of his life because of everything that they've put this president through. And he didn't have to be doing this. He could be relaxing right now and continuing with his businesses and making a ton of money, but he gave all of that up because he loves this country and he feels that he has this calling from God to help the American people, which I think is the biggest indication of how good of a heart he has.
He's definitely putting his Make America Great Again mandate in place, despite everyone trying to push back against him. And it's a huge contrast from what we saw under the Biden presidency. Absolutely. We're going to talk about that, the corruption there, what was going on behind the scenes, coming up in our next edition of Inside Track. We'll stick around and we'll talk about that.
Information. Truth. Is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.